Hi, everybody. Welcome back to the 3P Champions podcast. I'm Rob Stoller in Philadelphia.
And I'm Greg Stern in Seattle.
Scott Laigo is just a great guy. He's got a lot of practical knowledge, life experience, coaching experience, and I think he spends almost every waking hour trying to devise ways of making young people's lives better. He helps them cut through red tape, getting into college, and I think he's just he's a very generous soul who lives to help young people. Greg, what do you think?
I love Scott. He's a really good guy. He really cares about his community. He's a servant mentality, especially in the youth world. If you want to learn about youth sports and the process of how kids go through the system into high school to college, Scott's the guy to talk to. I love him, and I think listeners are going to love what he has to say.
Yeah, he's a hard guy not to love because he's so generous with his knowledge and his time and his wisdom. So here he is, Scott Laigo. You're a major supporter, consultant, coach, and heavily involved in youth sports.
Well, I appreciate, first of all, you guys having me on. I love what you guys stand for and everything you guys do. Involved with athletics all my life as a youngster, played in grade school, high school. A lifetime sports guy. I started coaching basketball 19 years old in the CYO, Catholic Youth Organization Leagues. Was pretty successful. I just recently, when I moved, happened to get a award that they'd given me. We went 70-10 in 5 years. Wow. So we had a pretty impressive run. And then I got into football coaching at my alma mater at O'Day High School, which is an infamous high school. Has a lot of great athletes, Nate Burleson, different people over the years around there. And I got into it from there. And if I wanted to grow, I had to move on. So I went into the public school sector there. I was able to get a GA job under Coach Don James and Jim Lambright. I was in the Whammy in Miami game where we beat the University of Miami and we their 58-game win streak.
Wow.
So impressive. We had Lawyer Malloy, Mark Bruner were on that team, Napoleon Kaufman, Damon Heward. We played against a couple good guys. There was a guy named Ray Lewis, the middle linebacker. He wasn't bad. You know, they had a few guys over in their team too. So, and it was in the old Orange Bowl. And then ended my career coaching high school football at Garfield High School, which is the home of Jimi Hendrix, Bruce Lee. I mean, you know, legacy school, won a lot of state championships in basketball, as Greg knows. But while I was there, I recognized an issue that was happening with my counselors, lack of education, understanding how the process actually worked. So, and for full, transparency, my stepson is a college football coach. He's at the University of Oregon now, but he started on the bottom of the level at NAI, Western Oregon, and has now worked himself up to obviously the Power 4 level. So he's seen it at every level, and we talk about it quite often about all the issues that are out there. And one of the things that he discusses or he gets frustrated with is, sometimes the counselors just not understanding how the process works and things like that. So he's always thought that there's a need for somebody to help these parents and the students understand the process. So I developed a program called Student Athlete Advocates, where we're just an educational platform. We're not going to get your son or daughter a scholarship. We're going to tell you about the process, how it works, and just discuss it, a proper plan, how this thing works. And especially in today's world that we're living in, unfortunately, the transfer portal has completely turned this thing upside down. And so there's really less opportunities for high school kids than there ever has been for. And then that's all sports. That's, girls and boys. That's just not the football guys and what I know more about. But, so it's getting the education out. I'm trying to, finalize a deal to work with the Washington State Football Coaches Association out here to provide a video series for them to promote or give out to their parents when they offer their showcases. And it's just about, when the coaches asked me what it's about, I just said it's about education. It's about educating them on the process. And unfortunately, as Greg, you probably knows even more than you, Rob, because you're always doing those acting things, so you don't have the time to, do the things that me and Greg go do.
I got a kid who's coaching high-level baseball players.
Yeah. So you get it. Yep.
I don't understand all of it, but my son is pretty well versed. he's got, he's got a couple of trainees who have committed to D1 programs. So he's in the middle of the whole NIL, the portal
So you
thing.
get it.
And yeah.
Yeah. And and if we're being completely blunt, I mean that unfortunately the use of social media today, there's a lot of misinformation out there, and we try to provide just a baseline for parents to understand where they're at, and what they can do, what their role in it is, what the student athlete's role in it is, and then how to do those things, and then to make sure that they're covering up if there is any issue, if they're not getting the support from their high school, from their counselor, from their head coach. Some coaches, as we all know, feel like that's not really their job to get kids off to college, and that's just the way they feel. Their job is to do a great high school program, which is fine. And some coaches are well versed in it that I've dealt with, but a lot of times it's in the middle. It's a lot of mediocre people that just don't understand it, and it's like the scholarship itself today. All these kids say, "I got offered, I got offered." Well, okay, you did get offered, but it's called a committable offer. Can you call that coach right now and say, "Coach, I want to come to the University of X"? And if the coach says, "Hey, we'd like to have you come through the summer and come through our camp, and we'd like to see you a little bit more," and that's that's not an offer. That's just the guy that put it out there, and so there's a huge difference. And and this isn't here to badger the guys that do a great job. And I'm personal friends with, Brandon Huffman, who does a great job with this, the high schools, recruiting, things like that. But let's be honest, the recruiting agency's job is number one thing is to sell clicks. That's their job. And so they're going to promote the 5-star, the guys that are 6'5" and 330, and say, "We knew he was going to the NFL." Well, I think the three of us could probably watch a 6'5", 330-pound sophomore kid walk by us and go, "I think he's got a potential to probably get to the NFL." Not real hard to do that. Now, the 5'10", 225-pound defensive tackle that plays his rear end off every Friday night, where can he land? That's where we help out. And so a lot of the new model, to be quite frank and honest with you, is you get onto a team you're going to play on. Number one, get film, get that going, and then if you play well, you can move up. If you're not good enough, they'll push you out, and then you may have to go to the lower level. At least you'll have film. So I'll give you a good example. A kid I helped out this year from my alma mater, O'Day High School, which Rob, you don't know, but they run the ball about 99.99% of the time. And they had a young man that went to the University of Puget Sound, and he was a good receiver. He was good in high school. Went down to the University of Puget Sound, which is a Division III school, and led the nation in receptions and yards. The nation. And put himself in the portal as a Division III guy and got a scholarship to Eastern Washington, which is a FCS program, level up, and blah blah blah. And so that's the kind of success story that we try to help out, and that's kind of where the model is now. And so these kids just have to understand it. Get on a court, start playing, make something happen, and then you get some type of feedback, and then you can make a move. And then the other part is people don't realize if you go to the top level programs, the Penn States, the Alabamas, the whoever, if you don't make it right away, after 2 years, if you don't show the potential, you're going to be able to play for them. They show you the door, and the contract and the money will not be there. And so it's a two-way street both ways and how this works. And so that's the hidden, conversation that nobody wants to talk about and nobody wants to discuss. And everybody thinks this is great. And if you, Greg and I converse with a couple other guys on LinkedIn all the time. You go on there and you think that the state of youth sports and everything is going great and these multi-million-dollar deals and everybody's making money and this is great and private equity's involved in it. In the meantime, kids are just being left behind, left and right. Kids that
Scott,
haven't developed.
Let me ask you something real quick. I want to do this before we get too far into this because you're rolling. But, this thing's the 3P champions, passion, purpose, and principle. And I've always loved your passion. And you can tell the way you're talking about your passion for helping youth. And we talk a lot, and we're on that LinkedIn. And I love what you're doing. But is your passion to help these kids I mean, we both know it's crazy out there. Some of these kids are starting off phenomenal, but they end up in a bad note. But tell me, what exactly is your passion for this? What is your goal?
So there's a couple of things, to be honest with you, Greg, and I think it just becomes personal for me personally. When I was growing up, academics weren't really my strength. I just, I just struggled. I have dyslexia, the greater than, less than sign. I just, flipped them in my head. I couldn't figure it all out. Sports was what made me feel good about myself. It made me have confidence in who I was and blah, 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 and moving on and going forward in my life. Having said that, I'm now 62. 5 years ago, I started walking, and it was one of those ones I just had to get out of the house from the pandemic. That's how it started. And these Apple Watches, they're pretty smart, and they're smart how they get you. And if you're a competitor, from my early days of my life to I am now, the competitiveness of shutting down all my rings made me want to keep doing it. So I started one day, and then I was like, can I do it for a week? Could I do it for a month? Can I do it for 2 months? Well, now I'm at 5.5 years doing this.
Yeah.
I know for a fact. Oh, I don't know what happened, guys.
We hear you. We hear you.
I know. Sorry about that. I got to.
Uh-oh.
God darn it, Doran. It'd be nice if he was in his house with his computer.
Yeah. We may have to redo it from his house. There he is.
Sorry about that, fellas.
It's not your fault.
Well, I'm not turning off my internet on the phone. Hurts. So going back to what you were saying, what I was saying to you, Greg, was, so here I am 5.5 years later, walking every day. And I really thought about this a lot, and I wanted to almost put an article on LinkedIn, and that's the value of sports. And I think that's where the passion comes from for me. Deep down, it saved me when I was growing up. And now I look at myself 62 years later, and I'm competing against myself every day to complete my goals. And I think that's what really resonates to me, what's being lost in sports and athletics now. It's about private equity. It's about making big facilities. It's about making all these tournaments. It's about, these stats. And I mean, my daughter was talking to me last night about my grandson's 11-year-old travel team. They're going to be able to have a website with his stats. And I'm thinking, I want him to hit the ball out of the infield. I don't care about his stats.
Yeah.
That's what it needs to work on, and they're being sold this bill of goods. And I really thought a lot about the walking thing for me. That I wouldn't have done it for 5.5 years. I wouldn't have competed against myself if I didn't have that early competition in my life. And that probably early competition in my life saved me. I was a kid that didn't feel good academically. And then I got to the college, and I finally had a good teacher in a community college, and I got a 4.0. I had never gotten a 4.0 in my life. And all of a sudden I got a 4.0, and all of a sudden my chest got out a little bit, and I thought maybe I'm smarter than I thought I was.
Mm-hmm.
I always thought I was literally the old dumb jock, and that's who I thought I was. And so it's deep inside me from that part. I think that a lot of parents, as we've discussed, Greg, I think there's a lot of parents, and Rob, and I know you would probably agree with me, even on the East Coast, that are looking for literally a ramp off this crazy world that we're living in nowadays with youth sports. I think they just want to go back to letting kids play and let them play in their youth direct league, and their, and have fun and enjoy it, and have a pizza party at the end of the year. And my greatest thing, our soccer coach used to take us to Pizza Hut, all you can eat pizza. Well, what do you think little 6th and 7th graders did? Tried to eat 43 pieces of pizza, and thought that was really cool. I mean, we laugh about it now. And the guy who always won was John Ryan, and he was about this big. I mean, he was the skinniest little guy, but he could eat the most amount of pizza. But look at me, 60 years later, being able to have that memory. I have 3 good friends that I'm still good friends with, that we meet every year, and it's been 50 years. Now, one of my buddies posted after we got together this Christmas. He says, that's 200 years of friendship. And I said, can we change the verbiage to like 50 years of friendship, not the 200 years? But again, it goes back to we were all great competitors. We were very successful athletes, and the CYO system and stuff like that. All went out and played high school, different athletics. But really, to be honest, that friendship, that kinship from playing sports has eluded, and so that passion now runs out because I just, uh, I live really close to a little play field in Edmonds, Washington, and for the last 5 years, that field has never been used. Next week, I'm meeting with a city council member from Edmonds. Finally, this year, they decided to use it. It's the perfect play field. It has literally a fence on the outside. If some kid, he just by luck got to hit a big one, he could literally hit a home run. It'd be pretty cool for a little guy to hit it. I always thought to myself, what if I brought a red ball there and just started having a kickball game and just started playing kickball? It'd be just a blast, to have kids.
Fun.
But the field finally got used after 6 years of me walking around it. It
Hmm.
finally got used for the first time in 6 years. I'm like, why? What is stopping this? What is and it's such a when you walk by or drive by and see it, you see all the grandparents and everybody sitting out by the outside edges of the field and watching the games and having fun and enjoying and talking up their kids. It's what it is. It's what community should be about. It should be about those things instead of going into the. If you've ever been, my granddaughter is in travel volleyball. I am utterly impressed with these young girls that can go into a place that has 18 to 36 gyms going on next to each other
No.
and these screeching whistles, and they know it's their whistle for their game. I'm stopping. I'm stopping. I'm not even in the game because I think I don't know whose whistle's going on. It's crazy. Let alone, as I know, Greg, going into the AAU experience,
It's a
it's
zoo.
crazy in the place.
It's a
Yeah,
zoo.
it's just nuts. So can we give it back? And so to answer your question, that's really where my passion comes from growing up into extending it now to later in life where I really resonated and thought about. That's why I did that for 5.5 years. Now my wife probably thinks I'm crazy. She'd like me to probably stop this craziness I mean, she'll see me at 11 o'clock trying to get my stand goal still, and she's like, "What are you doing?" She goes, "You did 5 years, and you're good to go. You're good." But it becomes a competitive thing in your head, and so you make sure you compete. And I know you two compete. You compete with yourselves every day,
I
and
think that
that's what the
it's
great thing about
invigorating
athletics is.
yourself. Yeah, you have to do it, man.
Yeah, yeah, and and that's the frustration for me using the American developmental model or the long-term athletic development model. That's what we need to be teaching these coaches and these players and these athletes. And like we're all going to hang it up. Can you still play your sport years ago? I get impressed with you, Greg, when you do your little videos and you're shooting, you're swishing and every dang thing. I'd probably have to get pretty close to creating a layup to make every shot you make. I mean, it's impressive.
Well,
Yeah,
hey,
You
let's
he's
just be
continue to work
honest.
on.
There's these
he.
editing tools too. You can use sometimes.
Yeah, no, that's a lie. I've seen him shoot live.
Yeah,
The guy is a
yeah,
dead
absolutely.
cold shooter, man.
If you don't
Yeah,
use
and
it, you
so
lose it.
absolutely, and that's what I want to hopefully resonate to these young people that we're all going to hang it up. Even NFL guys, Major League Baseball guys, any sport, they're going to hang it up. Ronaldo, Messi, after this World Cup, they're hanging it up.
Yeah,
And what will they have? They'll have great memories. They'll be in a cantina 40 years from now laughing about how they won a world championship when they were 32 and 33 or whatever they were, when they won it. And they'll be that would be their memories of what they're doing. And so I think we just need to do those things and we need to make it, more passionate, make it more fun for kids. I
I
think we
got
need
a
to
I got a
literally get,
fun little story for you. So
yeah.
I'm having hand surgery tomorrow for
Oh boy.
somehow I got carpal tunnel and it's bad. I mean, I always
Yeah.
shrugged it off because it wasn't me. But now I can't even
Yeah.
make a fist. But I figured as long as I'm going in tomorrow, I might as well play tennis one more time today. So I played this morning and it was painful because I couldn't hit anything with force. So I had to just change my whole approach and play with guile and smarts. And I actually was pretty damn effective and won pretty easily. Um, but the thought didn't really. My wife thought I was crazy. What is wrong with you? You can't even make a fist. I said, yeah, but I mean, I got to go. I'm playing. I said I would, so I will. And
Yeah.
I think it goes to sort of what you're talking about. Even at my age, at our age, it's still meaningful to me. But I had a
Yes.
question that comes up sometimes, and I think I know where you stand. I know where I stand. But in terms of in these days of so much specialization, like you say, 11-year-olds are already being groomed for a scholarship. And I always believed, and I will always believe that it's valuable for kids to play everything. Like I don't want an 11-year-old just playing what his parents think he's going to have a chance at a scholarship at. Play baseball, basketball, soccer, football, whatever. Play it all. I feel like we're getting kids pigeonholed so early that they're missing out on a whole lot of fun, not just playing other sports, but meeting other kids, being part of other teams. The socialization, I think, is what's suffering these days. What do you think, Scott?
1,000%. So baseball wasn't my thing when I was a little boy. I was playing in a game and I was messing around, and my dad, yelled at me, said, "Pay attention," and blah blah blah. And hitting wasn't my thing. I wasn't real excited about a ball being thrown at me. And so I'm in the game. He says the last thing he literally says to me, he says, "Watch that ball." I'm 8 years old, and sure enough, first pitch comes in, strike. Second pitch, strike. Third pitch comes in, it's a wild pitch. But I'm watching the ball because my dad told me to watch the ball, and we're all from the same ilk. Whatever your dad said, you were going to go do. And I watched that ball, and I watched it come all the way into my eye, hit my orb, almost lost my eye. I have a scar here, 6 stitches. And this is the old days. I know this is going to sound weird for some people on these listening to this podcast, but that's the days when you used to put a quarter into a machine and you could call. We didn't have cell phones. And my dad decided not to call my mom. And so we got home at 11:30 at night with me with a big black eye with big, stitches and everything. My mom losing her mind. And she said, "You're never playing baseball," which I kind of looked at her and said, "Well, I already made that decision like 3 hours ago after I got hit in the face." My point being to the story is you're absolutely right, Rob. Playing different sports, different modalities. I know you guys just had, Tom Newell on, and I know he talks about that all the time. Different modalities, playing different things, different sports. Soccer is the greatest sport in some ways because you don't play with your arms. So you have to learn how to move your body. Football is a strength and speed and angles game. Basketball is an angle and outsmarting, things like that. There's all these things that can trigger when you play all these different sports. I think we should have huge sports sampling camps. Let kids go play them.
It's a
Just
great idea.
I've had an idea in my head for years. Somebody told me I needed to trademark the name, called it Camp Chaos, where we just flip it, put the counselors on the outside, force all the kids playing inside, put all the stuff out, baseballs, basketballs, football, I don't care. Just go play, kids. We're not going to tell you what to do. You can go sit in the middle of the field and just pull dandelions for all. I don't care. But
Well,
go play
maybe
together.
maybe this new park that you're working on can facilitate some of that.
Yeah, I mean, I think that these kids, going back to what you're saying, is they're not exposed, and let alone if you really think about it, if you want to get down to the nuts and bolts about it, it's also urban versus suburban. It's inner city kids that don't get access. Most kids, inner city kids don't get access to golf and things like that. One of the major things that's happening, like for Major League Baseball, inner city kids do not play baseball. And then the Major League Baseball asked the question, how can we get more black kids playing? Well, let's go back to the beginning, to when we started this whole conversation on youth sports. It's $5,000 to start to play travel baseball. You haven't gone to a tournament, you haven't paid for a hotel, you haven't done a meal. It's $5,000 for the uniform, for the balls, the bats, the umps, and do that. Inner city kids don't have it. I coach those kids. We didn't go to camps because I couldn't think about telling each one of my kids you got to come up with $300 when I know some of them were literally living off of food stamps. And so we ran our own camp. We did something that made it for ourselves. But the point is that I think that these kids just need to have more sports sampling. I think we need to offer more facilities. So I'll give you another great example today. Or just starting on Monday, we're going to start the soccer. I don't know if Greg knows this story, but the soccer it will start in we can't call it Lumen Field. That's where the Seahawks play. It's called the Seattle Stadium because World Cup has, charge of all those things. So the World Cup field, or the Seattle field, um, is when the Seahawks play, it's AstroTurf. Okay, for this for the World Cup to be able to play, they had to go down 16 inches. They had to put in a huge um, uh, watering system, to water the field. Then they had to put a warming system to keep the field at a certain temperature below that. So 16 inches, but rocks, and did all these things, had to build the field up, and they had to bring in this top-notch grass. I happen to know the guy who did this thing. Now, the Seahawks are paying for this because that was part of the stadium deal. Okay. Here's the kicker to the whole story. Because I asked the question after the story was told, well, what are we doing with that grass? Because he told me it has to be all torn back out because the Seahawks want to go back to AstroTurf. He says, oh, we have to throw out the grass. We can't do anything with it. I said, I drive by fields all the time. I could show you 20 fields could use that grass. He goes, yeah, it's more cost to put that grass somewhere else than to use it. Why didn't we think about that before this World Cup? Why didn't we have that answer? Yeah. And the one good thing we both know out here, Rob, is Greg and I both know we have some pretty rich people out here. How come we could not have figured out with some of those guys, hey, let's get this field put over here after the games are over and use this stuff. But they are going to literally rip it out and put it back to where it was in the beginning. And it's going to go back to AstroTurf, and the grass is just going to literally even go out the door. How would a great experience for a bunch of inner city kids to go play on the grass where 8 World Cup teams played on?
Yeah.
You don't tell me that wouldn't be inspiring for young people?
Sure
I know I used to sneak onto Husky Stadium when I was in, freshman in high school and thought I was one of the Husky football players, let alone get to play on AstroTurf or grass from a World Cup soccer game. I would have thought I was Pele. And I'm aging myself when I say that on purpose.
No. Pele,
man.
Pele.
People, hey,
listen.
Everybody's Googling Pele right now. Who's Pele?
You're a kid. You're a kid, Scott.
Yeah.
It seems to me
that, those are things that we need to work on. Go ahead.
It seems to me you're caught between two worlds, two philosophies. One is, I know that you want desperately for kids to enjoy sports. Just enjoy it. Play it. Have fun playing. It's called playing. Even at the highest level, you're still playing baseball, football, basketball. But I always think I'm still friends with guys I played baseball with in high school. I'm still friends with guys I played basketball with for, 30 years in a rec league. So I know that you're a big proponent of just the enjoyment kids derive from playing sports and the relationships that they're going to keep forever from those teams. But you're also smack dab in the middle of the business of sports. You're trying to counsel, older kids who are trying to figure out what their future is in sports. And that's a business. That has very little to do with, go where you're going to have the most fun. It's go where you're going to have the best chance to get on the field, on the court, whatever. I mean, it seems to me that's not an easy thing to negotiate or navigate on your own. To be a guy that really bleeds the fun of sports. You lived it. You know what it's meant to you, but you're talking to kids and parents about the business of sports. How do you find comfort in that middle ground?
It's interesting you brought that up, Rob. I struggle with that a lot because a lot of times the pushback on what I do for student athlete advocates, well, you're part of the ecosystem, you're part of the problem. I'm saying, well, no, not really, because I'm not trying to profit off of your child's success athletically. I'm trying to educate you.
Yeah.
And then I look at a program like people. It's again, I'm a history major, so it's all like connecting the dots. People don't realize that NCSA, which is a big organization that says they can get your kid off to a scholarship, and that they will hound you like you cannot believe. And parents pay up to from $2,000 to $8,000 to be basically in a database. What people don't know is that company is owned by IMG Academy, which is owned by a private equity company out of New York City, which formerly was owned by a private equity company, a holding company actually, in Hong Kong.
Wow.
So if you start connecting the dots, does a Hong Kong holding company really have your son or daughter's best interests in getting them a scholarship or getting them to the IMG Academy? And right now, there is a huge push, nationwide, to push the IMG Academy model out and have parents pay $30,000 or $100,000.
Oh, they're doing it all
for
over.
their kids.
They're doing it all over, Scott.
Yeah.
Already.
No, people are trying to
So,
mimic the IMG model.
so here we are at the crossroads again. And, I know right now that Florida just passed. They're going to do a Super 8 league down there for all sports, for high school sports. Top 8 teams are going to go play, and they're going to go play for their championship. And again, I don't know if we can mimic it in every state, but it kind of maybe takes the top guys that we all know in every state that are the Mater Deis, the Boscos. I know a lot of great programs back east that are really, really good and dominant in all their sports. Could we just put them in a super league in high school? I mean, I know it's a weird dichotomy that we're living in, but it's where, and maybe that would answer the whole academy issue, but that's where we're at. And it's the model that's going down. And again, to me, that's the frustration for me. It saddens me, to be honest with you, that we have literally just monetized this whole process.
Yeah.
Hey, Scott, I want to interject. I want to interject here because we do the same thing, right? We're both passionate individuals trying to do too many things, and we see the destruction of youth sports, and we see the rich getting richer and the poor getting poor, and the accessibility. And we talk development, we talk cost. They're all issues, and across the board, parents are misinformed. They're part of the cause of a lot of this, but when I look at the whole picture, and we talk about it on LinkedIn all the time, all these issues, it's old, right? There's nothing that's hidden anymore. But when I look at it, I don't see sustainability. I do see tons of money at the top level. I don't think you can change that. But in my heart, I feel over time, as a parent, as a coach, if I go to a parent and I'm educating them about the process of development, of sports, of what you do, hey, these guys are going to take you because they saw it on a film. A football player can't tell anything. But when I go to a parent and say, look, how much are you spending on your kid? So you're spending $2,000 to be on a team. You're spending $200 for the uniform. You're traveling out here, and your kid's in 5th grade. And there's a million people that talk about this. If I could get your kid and charge you $500 and give him way more development in a week than he'll get in 6 months, and I have a safe place to go, and I can show you how to educate yourself so you can do this stuff and get caught out of the system, which they are in, because the results show you, and analytically, that these kids aren't going to college in the professional sports. That will, I think at some point, that will create another lane. It's starting to already from conversation, and there's loopholes out there, but it can't sustain it. Parents can't afford it for too long. The happiness is gone. The parents are frustrated. The kids aren't getting what they get. They're not getting exposed. The only people making money are building these big facilities and all the top athletes and the social media and marketing. That's going to implode for 80% of the people. You can't sustain, 1/3 of the country that has their kids in sports, they're in debt from paying for their kid to play sports. It can't sustain it. So I feel like over time with quality people, eventually there's going to be another path. And I think people like you individually have the struggle right now. If they're vigilant enough, we're already seeing people come together. It's a matter of time to when we got to go back. It can't sustain itself. We talked to Stockton yesterday about what you were talking about earlier, development. The better athlete, talented, initially looks really good. On the back end, they may not. The kid that's not so good, it needs fundamentals and some development, he's leaving early. So the only best way to do it is to do what you're supposed to, say combines, and the best people will be great, but the other kids can sustain enough to where they compete and they get to play for a while. But right now, the numbers are going opposite of where these guys want it to. So I almost feel like, yeah, they're investing, they're controlling, but there's no way, it's not sustainable. So that's my opinion. Now, I don't know how long that takes to make a change or like these other plans, but in your mind, what do you think about that sustainability in the youth sports, the way the systems are going?
Oh, I 1,000% agree with you. And I mean, in obviously with my background with football and stuff like that, it's the same thing that I feel about college football. It's unsustainable. There's only about 10, 12, 14 programs that probably really financially can play the game that's being played now with these huge roster numbers that they're putting out, $42-44 million for a roster. The same thing applies with youth sports, is what you're saying. I agree with you. I think that's what I'm appreciative of you two about, that you put this podcast together. We have enough people out here that are trying to, I wouldn't say pontificate, but put out the word that there's another choice, there's another chance, an opportunity for you, and to do those things. And people like yourself, Greg, and offering $500 versus $2,000. We can do these things, and we can make these things. We just have to keep pounding at it. And it's hard today in the world that we live in, social media, because the ones who push themselves out, who put content out every day and say that this is, what they're the greatest thing, they're the ones that get to the front of the line. But we just got to sit in the back and keep waving our hands and say, we're here. We can be here for you.
I want to say one last thing about this.
When it goes down.
Because we're talking about cost, okay? And I'm in the middle of this, right? I still got kids. But just the analytics of cost are so unbelievable, it just drives me nuts, okay? So I won't name the organization my kid was with, but this is consistent throughout. They have, it's around the clock, around the year teams they play. They got a season at 3.5 months, another season is 3.5, another one's 4 months. For the team he played on, for let's say it's almost 4 months a season, right? So it costs $2,000 to be on this team, right? Because you're going to play on this great organization, they win, and people are going to see you, and you're going to get scholarships down the road, and they get the best coaches, which isn't necessarily true. If they play in town or around the area, in which they do like 8 tournaments, then I got to pay $20. My in-laws got to pay money. They're in their 80s. I already paid for this stuff, so we do that. We got to pay for gas. We got to pay for all that stuff. Then we do out-of-town tournaments. So, for example, we went to Arizona. Per family, it was $3,000. So I said to these guys, hey, look, the coach is terrible, by the way. The kids are having fun. They're not getting better. They actually want to quit. Parents are bitching. And I said, let's just do the analytics on this sucker. We got 10 families here. Let's take this 4-month season and let's calculate how much this is costing. And so on average, these trips are anywhere between $2,500 and $3,000. Okay? If you put it all together for 4 months for just the whole group, what they spent, give me an idea what you think it costs. For a group of 10 people, families, for that 4-month season with their kids, just for that team.
I would probably venture to say about $120,000.
Wow.
For the whole group.
Really close. It was between $120,000 and $130,000. So now, let's take development. Let's take $120,000. I could rent Stockton's gym. There's 5 courts, or there's 6 courts, 5 courts at $50 an hour. I could take 50, 60 kids in there. I could bring coaches in there. We could play, we could coach, we could train, we can make it competitive for 6 months to a year, and we would still have $50,000 in the bank. That's how much that's costing. They're not getting good coaching. They're not having a good experience. They're not developing, and they're paying a crap load of money. So I'm bitching, and this is the choir, right? But you can't tell me if you got a lot of people with the same mentality, and you started. That's my whole purpose with the podcast, was like, this is messaging, right? Through social media, get high-level people, put the message out there that's already out there, and keep going, and then bring events. It has to start small. And we both know the number one thing any kid plays for initially, now it's driven by parents, is for fun. And if you're not having fun, you want to quit. And if you're not getting developed, then you don't have the confidence, you want to quit. But now you're forced in. So this is what's happening now. These athletes look great, the best athletes, but the regular people aren't. But here's what they're starting to get, and my kid, 3rd and 4th grade, is freaking anxiety and depression. They're not having fun. They're not getting developed. They are paying money to feel worse about when they started. It's asinine. It's backwards. So I do believe, like I said earlier, it is totally unsustainable. The top level will be sustainable, and they'll pay a lot of money out there. But 95% of these people aren't getting anything out of it other than they killed a lot of time, and they weren't exposed to other things. They're not having friends at age 60 and hanging out with them because they bounced around from team to team. So, I'm very frustrated, very passionate about it, but I do believe it has to change, whether it's slow or fast. It cannot sustain itself. It's impossible.
1,000% agree with you. I just honestly believe I think there's enough rumblings out there, the things that we're seeing, and you like showing the parents $120,000, $130,000 is a lot of money here, folks. What we just did, and this is crazy what we're doing, and we're not really developing, and really kids aren't at the end of the day having any fun. I do honestly think that there are rumblings out there that people are just really looking for the off ramp. They're looking for something that can be, and let's, it's like, unfortunately, I don't like to bring politics into it, but the spectrum, you go from one side to the far side. So let's talk about the old days where we had every kid got a trophy. I'm not talking about creating those types of leagues. I'm talking about kids having fun, playing competitive athletics, learning the game, properly learning the game, and having fun and enjoying it. And I think that if we develop those types of leagues or those types of organizations, it would be great. Rob, you're not, technically from here, but you know a lot about our area. I live in Edmonds, and but a little town a little farther from us, Everett. It's the third biggest city on the west side of Washington State. Seattle 1, Tacoma 2, Everett 3. I'm sitting in a park right now, and I'm going to bring this whole story kind of to what, Greg's saying here. So it's the third biggest. There really isn't a lot of great stats about how many kids, but, I've got a couple of high schools here. So there's a good amount of kids that are playing athletics here. In their Parks and Recreation Department, which is the third biggest city in this half side of the state of Washington, they have 2 employees for the whole city.
Wow.
There's a ton of parks. This park that I'm here near is near the Boeing facility where they make all the planes. It's called Cash Park. In it, there's got these 4 little baseball fields. Nice fields, great fields. And going back to what Greg was talking about, I watched my 10-year-old grandson last year playing a travel ball club at these same fields, and I watched his feelings for himself and his, anxiety and everything go down the tube on these fields because he just felt the anxiety to be successful the whole time. And it just burned me to death to watch the whole thing. Then I happened to notice there's this PG sitting out there in the middle on the outfield. And I thought, I know those guys. It's called Perfect Game. So I started talking to some people and everything. And this was last summer. And I found out that Perfect Game was going to get free all the field use for the whole season to run their tournaments. And there's a tournament every weekend. So you can imagine how much money was made in the summer. In return, they were going to redo all the infields and make them AstroTurf. I know this is going to be a shocker to you, Rob, but sometimes it rains out here in Seattle.
What?
So,
Wow.
I mean, we're sitting on a sunny day today, but sometimes it does rain here. So I was, okay, I'm in. But my first question was, what went over my head is like, so in exchange for all the fees, which I don't know what that is it $1 million, $500,000, or whatever, are these guys going to be fully compensating that retroactive? Is it going to be the same match? They get $500,000 worth of breaks. The infield should look for $500,000. Well, now it's come out that the city of Everett sold those fields to Perfect Game. So now they have complete control of the fields. They get all the revenue. They're running this 7-on-7 flag football tournament up here this year. So now they're making double money. Not even just doing baseball, they're doing football now. Now making double money, all for the say that they just did these infields and made it happen. And we all live in this country. We all live in different municipalities, and we all know that our local municipalities are all saying we're broke, we have no money. So the city of Everett is literally just given away $1 million, $500,000. I'm not sure how much money they've just literally given away, and they have 2 people in their whole park department running the place. And I'm like, this doesn't even make sense to me. I mean, we're literally giving money away to these big entities, and again, we have these great facilities. I mean, obviously it's a great facility because Perfect Game saw the potential in it, and let alone the ones that we all see on LinkedIn that are being these mega, facilities that are being built. Now they got hotels, so you don't have to even leave the facility. You can just hotel it up there and eat there and drink there and pool it up and have the whole 9 yards. I mean, we are lost our minds on this stuff.
Yeah.
And so I hope we bring it back. I just think, again, the passion that you guys do, what we do, all of us as a group, we just have to keep pounding the pavement. We have to keep saying this is out here, and we have an opportunity and an obligation, I think, to young people to give it back to them, give the game back to them, let them have fun, enjoy it, and do good things. And
So that's the second time in the last 5 minutes, I heard the word fun. It seems like fun has been kind of lost in the whole equation of sports. So, and I mean, I have a few questions, but one, you know, with the whole, we did one of these interviews with Anthony Pryor, and he broke down the number of kids that play in high school, get a scholarship, play in college, get drafted, end up playing, and I mean, it goes from like, you know, a million to like 300 by the time the equation's done. So, when you're talking to parents, it seems to me there are three things they might be thinking of. In a perfect world, their kid's going to get a scholarship and get drafted in the pros. Other kids may just get a scholarship and get college paid for. And then the other people get a scholarship and get NIL money now. So, I mean, it seems like the priorities are, I mean, in your discussions, what are most of the parents thinking about? Are they grooming their kid to get college paid for? Is the education a priority? Is it to get a college education and get paid to go to college? Or are they thinking about, you know, the possibility that their kid's actually going to be a pro, which is not going to happen in most cases?
Yeah, our talk is called, hashtag know the numbers. That's how we started off with. So what, Mr. Pryor talked about is exactly what we do. We go right through it. And if we had 100 athletes in the room, I'd tell 4 kids to stand up and say, you 4 are going to make it, and the other 96 can just leave the room now, and we can call this because that's the reality. That's the truth of the matter.
Yeah.
And everybody's being sold a bill of goods that every kid's a college ready and ready to go and play at the next level. That has to stop, and we're honest about that. And, we just tell parents, at the end of the day, you have to make educated decisions. I always use the joke, I said, if your kid's 4'11" and he wants to be the center of the UCLA basketball team, there's not much I can do. I can just tell you how you get, if you get a phone call, this is how it works. This is what you got to say back. And whether you get the phone call, I don't have anything to do with that. But this is how the process works. And, again, my son's at the top of the level right now. He's at Oregon. I mean, when I hear him talk about giving a scholarship offer, I know he's being serious, and he's honest with a lot of the guys. He says, listen, this is where you're at in our board. He's just honest. And if you got an offer from a lower program that you think is lower, take it, because I would probably venture to say that you're probably not going to get offered. And that's being a good recruiter. There are not many of those out there. And most of them say you're going to make it happen, make it happen, make it happen. And so going one step farther into that whole thing, we always, use the classic line, we want you to make 40-year decisions, not 4-year decisions. I had a kid this year, just graduated from the same school, University of Puget Sound, quarterback. He played a little bit, didn't have great, but he did okay. But he's now got a great job working for a finance company. Another one of my kids went to play, was a kicker at South Dakota School of the Mines, a kicker. Now he's an engineer, lives in South Dakota School of the Mines, has one child, one coming on the way, living a great life, being an engineer, making $150,000 in South Dakota. Pretty good gig. And that's really what we have to tell those stories. We have to get that piece out to these people.
Yes.
And do these things. And, the other one too, that really frustrates me, and locally, there's a young man that just got the athletic director job at the Oregon State University, Kevin Griffin, whose uncle is a famous the Ohio State Buckeye, Archie Griffin. But he's a Juanita High School local kid from here. He's now the athletic director at Oregon State. And that's the other message we need to send to young people. You are going to eventually hang up your career. You're going to hang up whatever sport, you're going to hang them up. Cleats, your mitt, whatever. But it doesn't mean you have to leave the sport. Doesn't mean you have to do these things. You can become the AD. You can become the general manager. You can become a scout. You can do, I know Greg and I both know this guy, Rod Marr, right? Nobody knows his name. Nobody would ever know him. Rod Marr is one of the best high school referees around in the state of high school football, basketball. Does a lot of the great games and stuff like that. Rob, he is also the team photographer for the Seattle Seahawks.
Wow.
He has a Super Bowl. He has a Super Bowl
He
ring.
crushes it.
Wow. Wow.
And he gets to take pictures of the Seahawks with a Super Bowl ring, and they wanted to make sure he got one because he was so valuable to them because of all the great pictures he takes.
Wow.
Again, we need to
Yeah.
send that messaging out to these people. We will all hang it up. You can still be in this sport, but when you think about taking that math class, you better be good at it, because there's a thing called and I won't even try to. I honestly don't even understand the NFL salary cap. I know there's way smarter people than me, because I don't understand that thing at all. I just don't understand it. You could be that. You could teach AI to run algorithms and all those things. Yesterday, University of Southern California, Lincoln Riley signed their first operations guy. He is the head of AI for the University of Southern California football program.
Brand new world, man.
Yeah.
Hey, I want to go back real quick.
He's probably making.
Do you still you sound like you're a prospective consultant more than anything. But do you still find people like, my kid got a baseball scholarship to a D2 school. I couldn't have been happier. We didn't, and now he's a coach, but I mean, he got his education paid for to a large extent. And that was like the greatest thing I could imagine. Do people still value that in your experience? Are they still
They
like
do. I think
thrilled?
Yeah, I think a lot of parents at the end of the day, it's what social media can kind of control, D1 or bust type thing. And the reality is we need more coaches saying the good things and saying, hey, if you get a scholarship to any level, you're going to be great. I don't care who you are. If you're literally in a bar 30 years from now, hanging out, and you have a national championship ring from some D3 school, and somebody's going to go, where'd you get that? And you're going to say, well, it was a D3. We won the national championship playing baseball. They're not going to say D3. They don't care. They're going to look at that ring and say, that's incredible. You won a national championship. And that's the messaging we have to tell these people. You can make the big time wherever you're at. You can have as much fun as you want, have a great career. You can always aspirations. If you want to think you can get to the next level, you see it all the time. NAI kids make it to the Major League Baseball. They can make it. But that's called perseverance. That has nothing to do. But get your education, learn how you can take advantage of those things. And like I said, make 40-year decisions, not 4-year decisions.
Yeah.
And we just need to keep pounding that message away to these people. And the parents are half the problem. Let's be honest. I mean,
I'm sure.
I think
More than half.
we've seen enough social media where if there's usually a brawl, it's the parents that are getting in the brawl, starting the whole thing.
No doubt.
The baseball coach that tells the 11-year-old to throw the ball into the dugout of the opposing team should never be able to coach ever again.
I agree.
And that's just, I mean, we need to stop all this stuff. And again, we give it credence because we put it on social media and replay it and repost it. Stop reposting that stuff.
Yeah.
People like train
repost
wrecks.
the stuff that's the good stuff. Yeah, Cal Raleigh is on a rehab tour here. He's the catcher for the Mariners.
Man.
You know what he did? He was in the AA team here locally in the Everett Aqua Sox. He came their game, won the game, got a hit, blah, blah, blah. He bought the whole team their after the game meal. Cal paid for it all. You can see the look on those kids' faces. We're so happy. They probably got better. They didn't get the Chick-fil-A boxed lunch. They had a guy making tacos to order for them. That is the beauty of what the sport is about Cal recognizing what it's like to be at that level and giving back to those kids because he knows they're struggling trying to make it up to Major League Baseball. And he just happened to sign a $60 million deal. It's the least he could do. And then he went down to Tacoma. I'm sure he did the exact same thing, bought them dinner, and then he hit a grand slam home run, which also helped the team win, pretty big. But I mean, again, is giving back to the game, and we have to get back to those things. We have to get back to the game that we all love, and that's what Greg does with his passion with basketball. That's what you guys do with your passion for what your podcast is about, and it's about putting that message out to these people. We just need more of that instead of the messaging that unfortunately gets on social media.
Scott, I want to touch a couple points that I think are extremely important. And you mentioned earlier, so I read a book called The 7 Habits of Highly Successful People, right? By Stephen Covey. It's a big business book. And he says it right away. Be proactive. Start with the end in mind. And there's two things here. What we're missing for youth sports is just what you said earlier. We're so focused, parents are focused on getting scholarships and moving fast through this process that we're not teaching lessons of the game and lessons that help you later. And when you make these comments about D1, D2, D3, hey man, I play everybody at all levels. And I'm telling you right now, when I see some of these guys that are pretty good ball players in high school and they think their coaches aren't holding them accountable or telling them what it's really like, and I'm like, hey man, you couldn't even play on a D3 team. I think you're misconceiving about how good these kids are that play, because we don't educate them, so they're not prepared. But not only on the basketball field or soccer field, they're not getting developed because they focus on just the best guys and they're playing games right away. But the lessons of the game are not being taught. And we both know that we all learn these lessons about work ethic and attitude and teamwork and all these things it takes to do something in the real world. But as a business, as these private equity firms all the way down, they're not worried about that. They're making money early. They're sacrificing the youth. The parents are still sacrificing their own kids. They don't know it. But the end result is we have kids that are fearful and have issues and they can't get a job and they don't know what to do. They haven't been exposed to anything else. Their parents have run it for them. And they don't talk about those people. I see them all the time. I see guys that were studs. I'm like, what do you do these days? Some don't have jobs. They don't. No one cared about them. Who's holding these people accountable? If we're not teaching them and developing them and thinking about the kid first, and we're just about this, I don't care what you're doing. You're sacrificing the future at some level, and the kids are paying the price.
It's that 40-year. I love that phrase.
Start with
Scott,
the end in mind.
A 40-year plan.
Yep.
You know.
What do you tell parents? Do you have these in there when you're talking to them in their house? Do you give them the truth of what where their kids at, or are you just giving the information? I mean, do you sometimes say, "Hey, I just want to be honest with you"?
No. We're on it. We are upfront. I mean, I go through it like if I talk to a person who does football, I bring up the stats. This is what the NFL is looking for, and I'm looking at your kid, and he's 5'10", and the average offensive lineman is 6'5", 330 pounds. He's not filling that bill. It's not going to happen. So let's look at Central Washington, where he can play and he can have fun and enjoy himself. And he's right over the mountains, and you can go see him play every weekend. These kids are, told go play all these great spots. But people don't realize, if you ever done the NCAA map before, it's pretty amazing. So they show all the universities across the country, and you go for every level. It's very clear. Nebraska over to the East Coast, loaded with schools.
Yeah.
From D1 all the way down to NAI.
Yeah.
Go anything to the left, it gets scarce. So let's give you two good examples. D2 on the West Coast, there are 2 schools, Western Oregon and Central Washington. There are 4 D3, or a little more than that. Yeah, 4 D3s I just saw yesterday in Washington. The opportunities are way less. Back east is a ton of opportunities. Pennsylvania, I think, had 60 Division III, schools in just
robust.
Their state. I mean, that's incredible.
60 Division III schools and
60 Division III schools.
Yeah.
And so there's just more opportunities. And so when we start thinking about, and that's the other thing it's sad about where we're at in the football thing. It's the unsustainability part, Greg, is concerning. To me, the bigger part is, I think it's going to implode the system. There's Western Oregons and Central Washingtons. The league they play in a Texas league for their football. So they are literally driving back and forth to Texas from Washington and Oregon every other week, having to do that. And vice versa. The Texas schools are having to come up here. Honestly, I could see an AD one day saying, man, this is a lot of money, man, we're spending.
Yeah.
With a wink, wink, and a wink, wink. You end it and we'll end it and we'll call it good. Now we have no Division II on the whole West Coast. Now where are all our kids going to go? And if you go through a Washington and a Western Oregon roster, 60%, 70% probably are Washington and Oregon kids. So this is their only opportunity after the division, if the FCS and the FBS get all their guys, and those are smaller and smaller every year. And so these people have to understand what they're dealing with, and that's how we educate the parents. Like these are the opportunities. They're very limited, and this is what you have to do and have to go about it. Now, if you want to go back east and go play, there's a lot more opportunities. But again, you'll probably be watching it on a streaming device, watching your son or daughter play a sport, which is fine. But again, it's travel. How do you get there, back and forth, and those things. And so my concern is that the D2's programs are going to call it quits, and that's concerning to me. Very concerning that could happen. I do know that two major Portland State has just been recently told they have to chop $1.2 million off their budget, their athletic budget. And another school down in California, I think it's Azusa, not Azusa, it's Cal Poly, has to chop off 1.1 in their athletic department. So it's coming. You know?
Couple of observations. One, I think it's hard for anybody to help everybody. Even as a parent, I'm happy if my kids turn out to be, worthwhile, positive influences. And my older kid is coaching, and he's doing a great job. And I've seen him coach, and I think he really represents the best in coaching. And my younger kid, he got a math scholarship, which was thrilling to me. And, he still plays his sports. He does all this other stuff. But, I think you're keeping it real for parents. And I think it's a very, very valuable service you're providing. And I also think it's kind of an uphill battle because you're fighting against money and you're fighting against people's unreal expectations. But I got to tell you that, I felt this before, but having spoken with you again, number one, I'm proud of you, and I'm really proud to call you a friend. I think you're providing a hell of a valuable service that some people might not even realize how valuable your advice and information is. And I'm starting to believe the more 3P champions we speak with, I'm starting to believe that maybe we can turn this around, because there are people like you, like Greg, who are smart as hell, who have been through the system, who know what expectations can be and should be. And I think, the dream is going to blow up at some point. There's just no access for people that they think they're going to attain the dream. You got to be happy with a smaller dream. Go to college.
Yeah.
Have a great time. Have the best 4 years of your life. Maybe get it paid for while you play a game you love. Then have friendships that last the rest of your life and get a great job. And like you say, have a family and be happy. That should be enough for a lot of people. I think we're enamored with the whole NIL. I want to go in the portal, find a place that's going to give me more money than the other place. That priority is out of whack. And I think in general, our priorities are out of whack. And I really do think that your ability to provide some perspective on priorities, expectations, and the meaning of, a good life is important. Couldn't be more so. So I applaud you for what you're doing.
Well, I appreciate that, guys. Most importantly, I think the biggest thing is we can do as a society, as a group of people like ourselves. And speaking of, I've been giving Mr. Stern a hard time that I had to, follow the great Tom Newell. Then I saw you guys post that you guys talked to John Stockton. So now I'm behind John Stockton. So now it's even worse for me.
Hey Scott, we haven't released any yet. You're all right. We might push you to the front.
Hey, listen, man, we got people.
I don't think we probably will.
We have people coming up after you, Scott, and they're going to say the same thing. How am I going to follow that guy?
Well, I'd hope, but the most important thing with the work you guys are doing, and I think we just have to continue to do that, and to beat down social media and beat that whole process, is just keep putting out the good word, and that's the most important thing, and getting the message out. And if it's slow, it trickles or whatever, I think it's the most valuable thing that we can do. I'm very appreciative of you guys having me on, and what you guys do and what you stand for, your connections to the people that you are able to bring onto this show, and what you guys exemplify. And we just need more of it, and we need less of the private equity guys and everybody else to get all the attention. So, it's been my honor to be on with you two and
Oh,
to talk with you.
I don't want to
And
quit
I
yet because I got
really
a couple more
appreciate you.
questions. I had a couple more
No, but
questions.
I just want you guys to know that that's important to me, that you guys are doing the process that you're doing
I
and
really
for
appreciate
providing the
that.
platform. It's really just a cool deal.
We feel the same way about you, Scott. We value
Absolutely.
what you bring to this program, no less than anybody else. I mean, we're trying to put together
Yeah.
a community of people that, have passion, purpose, and principle. Like,
Yeah.
what else can we communicate with people? What else can we provide that's more valuable than that? So we're grateful to you.
Hey, Scott,
Appreciate that.
Rob doesn't know this, but yeah, I appreciate the intellectual comments that I'm smart, but I don't know about that. But you know what keeps me on my toes is I get these little texts from Scott all the time. He's always on top of everything. I asked him yesterday, what do you wake up at 5 and the first thing you do is turn on your computer or whatever? So I know how knowledgeable you are. And I love that. That tells me you're passionate. Ever since I've met you, you're passionate. I definitely know you have a purpose, and I know you're super principled. But before we leave, let's just say that we're right here and we got all these followers and we got parents and let's say we have kids. Two messages. The most important thing, what would you say to a parent that has a child, let's just say we're from 5th to 8th grade, we're not even up to high school, about what's something they should know and think about as they go into this system of sports? And then let's just say that you're at a school and you got 30 kids that are, let's say 6th grade to junior high, 6th, 7th, and 8th grade. And what are you telling them about the same thing? That they need to look forward to and things they think about, with their parents?
So for parents and for the young group first, let's talk that. I think the most important thing we give to parents is just let your kid find their journey, find their path.
Mm.
Don't push it. You may have been a baseball player, Dad. You might have been a good girls basketball player. My daughter-in-law is a Hall of Fame volleyball player from North Florida. She doesn't push her daughters into volleyball. If they want to play, they play, and they have a good, healthy outlook about it. And their dad is, a college football coach. And my grandson is one heck of a fly fisherman. He kicked my rear a couple weeks ago when we were on the McKenzie River down in Eugene. That has no inkling or want to even play sports, and they don't push it. And so that's the message to these parents. Like, just let them find their path. If it's want to play chess, if it's just want to play baseball, or only want to do this or that, let them find their passion, find it, and because they eventually will do it. And which kind of morphs into the next part of the whole thing. I a lot of times I can pretty quickly figure out a lot about what's going on in the high school level when I start talking to parents or just talking to the family. The dad, you can kind of see he's the one that's pushing this whole thing. And I'm like, and I always just turn to the kid and I just look at him, son or daughter. And I look at him, I say, listen, just so we're real clear, those 5 a.m. workouts you have to do.
Yeah.
That class that you have to study for to be ready for the test on Friday night, you have to do. The people that when you look into your your cupboards on your ninth week of your 10 weeks of school and you have one top ramen left and it's got to last for 2 weeks, that will be you, nobody else. So do you want to do this?
Yeah.
Do you really want to make this happen? Because that's the reality of what you're about to go into.
Yeah.
People think that Division I is great and they all do that. Really, if you really want to examine it, they'll put it on social media. This is what we do. We are at 5 o'clock at the stadium. We do this, we do that. The NCAA has a 20-hour work week. They say on average, the student athlete is 44 hours a week. Okay. So now you double that, time, which kind of kicks to my question to the NCAA who says, well, we make them employees. Well, have fun paying that overtime, but I'll leave that. That's a whole nother comment. But to your point, Greg, it's just really, it's number one, telling that student athlete that that's what they're going to have to go through, what they're going to have to figure out. And what I always tell kids, and I think this is a really good, this is my question that I always say to them. At the end of the day, you leave the sport leaves you, coaching change, whatever happens. Can you see yourself on this campus getting your college education without athletics?
Yeah.
And if you can't say that, yes, then that's not the place for you to be. Because you have to. That has to be what you have to ingrain in yourself. Can I be here? Does this school make me feel good? Is this what I want? Is this the community that I want to be in?
Yeah.
Is the culture here the same thing? Because sometimes it just happens naturally. I mean, injuries happen. You just lose the drive to play the sport anymore. I get it.
I had that same
So,
conversation with my son with regard to one of the kids he's coaching. You know, he
yeah,
hasn't gotten a lot of attention, even though he's a talented kid. I think he will get some attention, but it just hasn't happened yet for one reason or another. And even if he ends up walking on somewhere, which he might, because he's skilled, he's a big kid and he's good, but find a place, you know, you would be happy at, and maybe you'll also get to play baseball, but find the happy place first and then worry about it. So I think
yeah.
your advice is on point.
Well, I think that, we again, losing that message, the 4 years versus 40 years, you
Yeah.
know, like you're saying, Rob, about NIL money, about all this stuff that's made up. It's not true. It's not reality.
Yeah.
It's, the ones that are making the money are the ones that have the ball about 90% of the time in their hands, called the quarterback. Okay. The pretty boys, they're going to make their money. People
Yeah.
don't know this statistically on the Power Four level. It's about 65% of the kids where they usually started, their commitment are gone.
Yeah.
It's college quarterbacking has completely changed. Like literally you just recruit a kid because in 2 years you're gonna go in the portal and bring the guys over. I mean, I'm gonna use Oregon as a good example. They got Bo Nix, they got Dylan Gabriel, they got a good one now in Dante Moore. But who'd they get this year? They got the Raiola kid from Nebraska. So you just go out and you just fill the net. Billy Bob, who plays for Eugene High School, I mean, he can go on to the Oregon team, but the bottom line is probably what's going to happen. They're going to go out and go find something. So these people have to realize that it's just a different, landscape that we're at and what we're doing. And, I heard for your sport, Rob, your son's sport, a college baseball coach finally came out, major, big time school. I think it was Clemson. The coach came out and just said, if I can go out and get a 24-year-old pitcher versus the 17, 18-year-old kids who I don't know if he's got enough arm strength to get it, consistently over and pitch well in the middle of a game in the College World Series, who are you going to go get?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and also the kid that's got to wake up at 5 a.m. and work out and everything else, he may not even get on the field. Uh-oh.
Dang it.
Are you there? Oh, there he is.
Yeah. So,
He's back.
These dang phone calls. So, my point is, we just need to relay the message to these parents and to the kids that they have to really think about the bigger picture, and which is not easy to do with these kids today. It just really is. They just see what they see, as I like to call it, fake gram or fake book. So it's easy to post all those things and think that. And the reality is, when you're running up and down the field and getting screamed at, and you're learning that the nice recruiting coach that you had bring you into the college is the same guy screaming at you in the middle of a game, that's a different animal for most kids to handle, and they're not used to it. And so we need to be realistic with these kids and tell them what they're doing.
Hey, Scott, I still believe it all comes down to kids are looking up. The teachers, the parents, the coaches, they're only following what people are giving them or what the parents are modeling or driving them. So what you said earlier rings true, that if a kid finds his own passion and something, he's gonna love it, he's gonna grind it out. If he's forced to do it, he's gonna suffer because maybe his parents are forcing him, or he's gonna quit.
I'm sure we'd love to clone Scott, because you're helping a lot of people. You can only help one family at a time. Maybe we should figure out a way to broadcast your philosophy or your platform on a more broad base so that a lot of people can hear what you have to say, because your advice is sound and it makes sense, and people need to hear it because their perspectives are blown way out of proportion.
Absolutely. Well, we're working on some things. We're trying to put together a video series, so hopefully we can get that out and get the message out better that way. And you are absolutely right. The good thing about AI, there could be some good things to help you, and so we're kind of working on some of those things and get that thing out to get the word out better. And We got to get the message out.
Yeah. Well, if we can help you, Scott, of course, in the future, we'd be delighted to do so. And thanks for all you do. And thanks so much for your time today.
Appreciate it, guys.
Hey, Scott, passion, purpose, and principle, man, you live it. I see it. It's great to hear it.
Yeah.
So thank you.
Thank you, guys. I appreciate all you guys do.
Thanks so much, Scott.
For sure. Have a great day.
Well, we certainly hope you enjoyed meeting Scott Laigo as much as we enjoyed presenting him. I think he's a wonderful guy who really spends all of his time thinking of new ways to learn and help young people navigate the complex world of youth sports, from high school to college and the NIL and the portal. And he just does it selflessly, kind of all day, every day. And I like the way he brings the parents well into the conversation so that everybody knows what expectations are realistic and how to get there. And he's a great guy, just a really friendly, well-meaning, bright guy. Greg?
Yeah, I love Scott. He's got high character, high integrity. He loves kids, and he puts them first, where today's, in youth sports, that's not always the case. Very admirable, but he'll do anything for a kid, for a parent. Empathy, he's got it all, and I really respect him. So that was fun to learn about his history and what he's doing now for kids and parents.
Agree with all of it. So join us again next time to find out who the next 3P champion is. Thanks so much. Greg, as always, you are the best.
Robbo, you're the man.
Come on. Okay.
Come on.
Till then, everybody.